My name is Jeff Azar. I sing for a band called Demi the Daredevil. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the single Change Me. This song was an important song for me because it was the first song I'd written where I wasn't making any compromises with what I was doing. So I was writing, as if my life depended on it, and I hope I keep writing songs like that. I started with a chord progression, and that chord progression was just it's probably used a bunch. It starts off with a minor chord, which I always like. And I feel like a good chord progression is an essential piece in starting any song. Because, when I personally listen to songs, when I personally listen to songs, it massages my brain to hear something with a good chord progression. If they don't have that, then it bothers me. I don't want to hear it really. And that sounds arrogant, but it's because it grounds you. I feel like a good progression grounds you in the moment. And good progression sounds strangely familiar, and I think there's a reason for that. That people who make good songs realize that there's some truths that they have to abide by in good music. So I started with that, then had a beat in my head. The bass line was like very simple at first, and usually, I'm really happy with what I do the first few days, and I call my bluff, and I realize it's not that good, so I bumped it up with the bass line and be like, and that made the groove better. For the chorus, I changed the rate of the progression to just in case you dozed off during the song, then it brings you back and it kind of creates interest. And the chorus was, what I liked about the chorus was the three notes for the bass was just those three notes, and that voicing just made it so much better to me. I remember hearing those three notes in a song called Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, and I always thought that it sounded really beautiful, so I was happy that I could incorporate that. In the post-chorus, I was going to keep the same progression, and I didn't think the melody was good enough to rely on the same progression, so I just, I changed, I kind of winged this, and it somehow worked to my benefit, because it sounds like, it just fit the song. It sounded like sacred and melancholic and just like so dramatic. I think that's all I'm going to pretty much say about the song, because in my experience, people generally want to hear more about the word and the story behind it. So, it's hard for me to explain the song when I took about a year trying to articulate this, and I feel like I said it all, and it never comes out as good when I'm re-explaining stuff that I've already explained before, but generally, this song was like, I woke up on a dull and dreary Sunday or whenever it was, and I saw people running in the rain a little bit, and I was realizing that I had to clean up my act and change my habits if I wanted to get what I wanted to get in life, and that I had to slow down and kind of just see what my journey is like a sprint and not a marathon, not a sprint. I wanted to get honest with myself and realize I have limitations. I only have so much time and energy. I can't be spread too thin. And it was just, it's like if my aim was to call a friend, I made a decision to not just dial 7 numbers in random orders. Like I wanted to be very clear on what the order of the numbers were to contact somebody. If that's an okay analogy, I guess. Commercial break. No, just kidding. yeah, so I started the verse off was it's so much easier to fantasize than realize what it takes to thrive. That's me just kind of like roaming around, dazed and confused, knowing what I had to do. I just needed to do it. And so that makes me wonder what makes us procrastinate as people. And I wrote another line saying like I can't stop moving, and I feel like sometimes it's more productive to not do anything than to do stuff without knowing why you're doing it, because then it just starts feeling futile, and that is absurd to me, and that's what philosophers would call capital A, the absurd. So I think it's important to stop and assess why you're doing what you're doing. So the chorus, I'm nobody to anybody, won't be somebody for a while. I was just accepting that I was a loser, and maybe that doesn't sound attractive really, but I'll say I just accepted that I was a loser in certain aspects of life, and somehow that felt empowering. And I think that it can be empowering because once you accept that you're a loser in certain aspects, then you're you're immune to people making you feel any worse. If you just kind of like go into a room where people are doing what you've wanted to do a long time ago, then if you've already accepted that you've lost out, that you've lost in certain regards, then you're comfortable with yourself a little bit more. And also, I don't feel like you have to prove yourself to people as much if you kind of accept that. It's more like you're doing what you need to do for yourself and for nobody else as much. And that's why I ended with the line, so I'll be somebody for me. Maybe someday someone will be listening. And I guess one more point, in the verse I was saying, I've numbed myself from every tension, so in time my personality is dimmed. So I feel like with bad habits, it's over a long course of time that you see the negative consequences. It's not an immediate thing, so I feel like that's why it's hard to change them, because you can't see how it's affecting you negatively right away. And also, there's this analogy where there's a honey jar, and there's flies that are dipping in and out of a honey jar, and it's okay if flies are dipping in and dipping out and suckling the pleasures, the short-term pleasures of the honey, and if you call that distractions or short-term gains. If you do it in and out, that's okay, but when they go there and they stay there and they stagnate, they die. And I feel like that's kind of what happens to us, where it interferes with our development as people. It interferes with us expressing our good qualities. And that's the reason why I changed. That reason alone made me change my bad habits, because I didn't really have a motivation to do that if I just heard, in theory, just like a vague set of rules as to why we should be doing this or that. So it's just kind of like a diamond being smeared with mud and being tossed over there, and it's not going to exude the aura of a diamond, so it becomes nothing. And I think that's about it.